Have you ever wondered if you could make animations on your mobile phone or your tablet? Well, there's an app out there for you. It's called Flipaclip. Some of you may have no need for this video since you're not new to the app. But for those of you who are and are seeking to improve your skills, you may find this video very helpful. And with that said, let's get into it. Yeah, good day guys. Today we're going to be working on the sketch layer. If you watched my previous video, I covered the rough layer, how you go about it. And I think one thing I feel to mention about the rough layer is its importance. There are two major things that I see as the importance of having the rough layer. The first thing is that it helps you to have a rough idea of the proportions of your character. It helps you just try as much as possible to keep it consistent. And the other thing is that it gives you a rough idea of the timing. So everything is just it's acting as the foundation. Now the sketch layer goes a step further, and what it's basically about is to give you details, more details regarding your animation. Now today we are going to have our sketch layer, and just as I said when we made the rough layer, the first thing we want to do is to label it. So we label it as, oh, my keyboard really fucked me up this time. I was thinking, all right, let me try to keep my writing a little bit beautiful. Aha, so we have our sketch layer. Now you notice that I've reduced the opacity of our rough layer to something that is almost barely visible at this point. So, and the reason why I'm doing that is because anytime I'm making any layer outside of my outline layer, I like to keep the opacity I like to keep it lower than it's necessary. So now I'm making my sketch layer lower than 50% opacity, maybe 48 or so. Okay, so now that we have our sketch layer, what do we want to do? We want to give our character form. Now last time I was talking about this character being a he, but I decided I want to make it a she. And let us see. She's looking to the side, and then we have the nose. So when you are making your rough layer, it's something you have to do as quickly as possible. You shouldn't take too much time making your rough. But the sketch layer is quite different, because this is basically what guides you. It's like your rough animation, and let's just say she's looking to the side at this point in time. The eyes is looking too small for me. I want it to look kind of just a little bit cute in any way I can, or make her look a little bit childish. Okay, so let's have bigger eyeballs looking to the side. Then we have the eyebrows, and let's just add a little bit of eyelashes to denote she's female. Because normally when you look into anime, they tend to give the ladies more eyelashes, although in reality we know that's not really the case. We've seen guys with beautiful eyelashes, but generally it's just like an agreed rule that ladies have more eyelashes than guys in anime. Or maybe I'm just the one thinking that's the case, but that's just how because I happen to that's the way I view it. I watch a lot of anime, so it guides my style, it dictates my style. So okay, so we have the face, the neck, the hair. Let's give her should we do something? Let's just do something simple for now, because this is a tutorial video. We don't want to get too complicated and bore you. Should I just give actually I'm a little bit stuck on the kind of hair to give her, but let's just see. Let's see. So usually when you're making animation, it's usually best for you to plan out your character first before you actually go into the animation phase. That way you don't have you are not indecisive, or like the way I'm feeling right now. And she's actually looking more like an adult than a child, but well, let's just go about it like that. Let's just do what we want to do. Let me give a little bit of hair over here. And for the outfit, let us give is it a turtleneck outfit? Yes. All right. I'll give my turtleneck outfit. So maybe let's just let's just have something like this. Okay, she's looking more grown up than I imagined, but that's not a problem. After all, this is a tutorial video, so it's just telling us that whenever we want to make our stuff, we have to this is just an indication of planning before you actually make your character. So that's why there is how can I put it? That's why it is important to have your character design before you make an animation, because some people might not know the importance of that job and see it as something that is irrelevant or so. But all these things are irrelevant for a all these things are relevant for a reason. I believe I said irrelevant. So this is the initial pose. Copy, paste. Once again, a reminder that Flipaclip is something that requires you to be very repetitive with your decisions. Okay, now we have this other frame and in between where she looks slightly to the side. So usually when I want to start drawing this, I usually start with the nose. It gives me a sense of proportion. It's something that I can just scale from. You know, like for instance, some artists, when they want to draw, they start with the head. It helps guide the way you make the way you draw the other parts of the body. So for me, when I'm drawing the head, I also start with the head, but for me, when I'm drawing the head, especially when I'm making animation, I usually tend to start with the nose. So this is something you also have to figure out yourself. People have different approach to it, but that's just my own personal approach. So now, because she's looking more like an adult in the first frame I drew, I've decided to just go ahead and just make an adult in general. And one thing about drawing adults is that you tend to have a more defined jaw. Like when you're drawing kids, you tend to make it more curved like this. So just have a cute eyes and mouth. Sticking cute. But then when you're drawing adults, you tend to define the jaws a little bit. Just what did I just do? Okay, let me clean this. So having a more defined jawline tends to give it a more adult look. So that's just it. And then when you're drawing adults, you also tend to make your eyes a little bit smaller, because I believe scientifically the eyes does not change in size right from childhood till adulthood, so it stays the same. I don't know how true it is, but I believe that to be the case. So if that's the case, if the head goes bigger and the eyes will somehow look smaller in proportion to a bigger head, so that's just but that's just by the side. Let's just forget about this and focus on making our in-betweens. So in this portion, can I see this? So when your character is moving the head to the side, you also have to take note of the neck. The neck doesn't just stay stiff in one position. It actually moves a little bit. So all these subtle movements gives more life to your character. Even if you decide to just go over the outline of the previous from where the neck is, those tiny inconsistencies in your line gives life to your character because it's different, so therefore it moves. So let's just go do this. Now you can see that I'm following my sketch layer when I'm drawing this. That's the advantage of just doing it. There are some people that actually just maybe make their I said sketch layer. Sorry, I made a mistake. You can see I'm following my rough layer when I'm drawing it. Now there are some people that don't even bother with rough layer. They just outrightly go to the sketch and then they just give it form. So it depends on you actually, but for me that's what works for me. So let's just go over the eyes. And then maybe in this next frame we can just add a little bit of a blink. You know, humans tend to blink a lot. So let's just look at me. I decided to actually draw the eyes first, and now I'm regretting that decision. So let me first draw the nose to keep my proportions in check, and then let me just add the blink. So there's no rigid rule to making art. Art is something that is very personal, and you have to work and develop your own style. So, but this is just me serving as a source of it's just me giving my own method of doing things. You can do your own differently. So don't be too rigid when it comes to art. It's not like as if this is the only way we can go about it. There are different ways to go about things. You achieve things in different ways. You see people that have some brilliant work. When you see their process is very gruesome. You wonder how are they doing it. And then there are some people that just outrightly go and then just do something that is very simple and amazing, and then you're also going to be shocked. So you just have to try as much as possible to develop your own style. And when it comes to animation, one thing you have to keep in mind is that whenever you're trying to develop your own style, you have to, how can I put it, study yourself and look at what works best and what works fast. Speed is something you have to look out for when you're animating, because animation is a very time-consuming process, like I said earlier. So when you do something fast, look for something, a way that makes your work looks fast. Now you might wonder that, okay, if animation is about looking for what makes my work look fast, why do I have to first draw the sketch layer and everything? This is something that I've learned from experience. There are times when I didn't even give much importance to all these things when I started out as an animator, but in the end there's a way it shows in the quality of the animation you end up producing when you actually skip those crucial steps. Sometimes you make some mistakes that you can't just go back and correct, that would have been better for you to have made in the earlier stages of your animation. So that's why sometimes these things that look like an extra step that most people don't pay attention to is actually what is hindering the quality of their artwork in general. So the hair at the back, the more she moves, the more it moves to the center, towards the center of her head. So let's see, in this part she opens her eyes. Let me draw my nose first. Then the eyes is opened again. Now, honestly speaking, sometimes when I make my own animation, I don't draw all the rough. I don't plan out all the rough like this. Sometimes I just draw the keyframes. Like, you know, when I did the previous animation, I started with just 3 frames. The initial one where she was looking to the left, the middle one when she moved her head, and the final one when she stared at the camera. So sometimes, or usually most times, that is where I will end my rough. Then I just go ahead and make the sketch, and then I now in between. I add my in betweens when I'm doing the sketch layer, not when I'm doing the rough layer. But because this is a tutorial video, I had to take some liberties and walk out of my usual. I didn't do things outside the way I would normally do them. So yeah. have a long way to go. Okay, let's go on. Let's see. So as you can see, as I'm going, I'm breaking my own rules. That's just how art is. It's not something that is very rigid. Like right now, I've decided to just go draw the clothes first, draw the neck, and move the character. So art is not something that is very rigid. Once you are following too much steps, sometimes the result of your art seems very forced and not very dynamic. So you have to keep that in mind, that these are just suggestions. Ultimately, you're going to have to work with your own style, with your own mood, with the way you feel. So just see. Now the reason why I'm just drawing haphazardly in this case, and I'm drawing the nose first, the eyes first, because I have a guide, and the guide is my onion skin. So getting to see the positions of the certain of features of our faces in the previous frame makes it easier for me to just start from anywhere and just draw from anywhere. If it was to be a drawing that I'm just drawing from the scratch, there's no way I'm going to be starting with the neck first or maybe the eye first. I'll try to first get the forms. So this is just how it goes, because I've seen people who always ask me that question. I say, when I draw, do I start with the neck? Do I start with the hands? And the answer is I start with the rough idea of what I'm going. And usually when I start with the rough idea, I start with the head. So damn. I hope I haven't made a mistake. So now it's becoming increasingly difficult for me to actually sketch the in-betweens, because they are just subtle, very subtle movements that it's really hard to capture those subtle movements without seeing the position of the next frame. So in order to mitigate the problems I'm facing, I'll just go straight to the final frame and go to my onion skin and just increase the numbers of frame before. So let me increase it to, like, I think 3. Yeah. So now I can see the image at frame 11. And I can see the frame at 11. It's not too clear. What would I do about that? I'll come over here to the onion section, and then I'll increase the opacity as well. That way it becomes more visible. Now, if just for the sake of the viewers, let me just try as much as possible to make it much more visible. Why is it looking this way? I can't see anything. 100%. Still not clear enough. Is it? Let me see. Is it even working? Oh. Sorry. Yeah, it's working. Let's go to the onion. All right. So I got the wrong one. I was talking about the previous one. Now let's do it this way. So now I'll be able to see it clearly. Now this is too clear for me. Let me reduce it a little bit. Now this is okay. So now let's just go to the final frame and just draw the position of everything, how it ought to look like. So at this point, she's looking at the front. Now there's a slight tilt with the way her head is positioned when she's looking at the front. So it's not like as if she's directly staring into the camera. It's a little bit angled towards the left, but you still get the idea. So the hair kind of gets less visible the more she steers to the front, and the hair at the left becomes slightly visible, although we couldn't see it before, but now we can see it because she's staring at the camera. Aha, so we have our final frame where she stares at the camera. Let's copy that and duplicate, paste, duplicate, paste, duplicate, paste. Yeah, paste. Paste, 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 paste. Now that we've done this, it's easier to now make the in-betweens. So we'll go to our onion skin. We reduce the number to 1. Then, yeah, let's add the frames after. Let's make it more visible as well. So, let's work on the visibility. Okay, that's visible enough. Yes. So let's go back again to our onion skin, and let's increase the frame after to 2, so that way we can see this frame and frame 14 and frame 13. So we are currently at frame 12. So now it's easier for us to add our in-betweens. Usually when you have in-betweens like this, you can start almost anywhere because you have a very good guide. You can see where the hair is in the previous and in the next. You can know where the jaw is. So you can start anywhere at this point because it's easier. Look at the nose. We already know where the nostrils are. You know where the lips are. So you can just try as much as possible to put it at the center. But because this is not a direct in between frame 11 and frame 14, you have to account for this frame 13 that we are not yet animating yet, we are not yet drawing yet. So you can't put it directly at the center per se. Just make it a slight tilt between frame 11 and frame 14, because you still have frame 13 that is in between the frame 12. I don't know where, maybe where I'm explaining it is a little bit hard to follow, but I'm sure you're all smart and you already understand what I'm saying. So since this is also very visual, I think it's something that it should be easy for anyone to follow. But if there's any confusion in my explanation, feel free to let me know in the comment section, so that when I make my next video, I'll be able to maybe give a few clarifications on that. So another skill you need to develop as an animator is that you need to have eyes for minute details. You should be able to see through all these transparent layers. For some people, it's hard for them to actually follow all these different variations, all these different tiny stuff. So you just have to have a eye for it. It's not really something that, how can I put it, that can be taught. It's something you acquire over time, the more you animate. So you should be able to differentiate between your previous frame and your next frame, and you should be able to not lose yourself in a way that you understand, you know where your previous frame is and your next frame. So you just have to put your lines in between those lines. Look at this. The hair is in between this. So don't lose yourself when you're making your animations. And then now, for the final in between, I'm going to switch off. I'm going to reduce the number of frames after. And now we only have 1 frame before and 1 frame after, so you can follow in between. Now at this point, it's, you can decide to switch off your rough layer. Yeah, you can decide to switch off your rough layer. So you don't really need it as a guide, because you already have your previous frame and your next frame as your guide. So it's easier for you to put your in between, and it's easier for you to keep track of details. Because once you have your rough on, it gets a little bit more complicated, because these are the guides, these lines. And the thing about Flipaclip is that it's also going to show you the previous frame of your rough and the next frame of your rough, and so it just makes everything a little bit messy and chaotic. So in order to reduce that chaos, you can switch off your rough layer at this point, because you don't really need it, and then you can just go about adding your in between for your sketch layer, so it's easier to follow. I should have done this earlier, or maybe I shouldn't, because I was saying, oh no, I don't need to. No, it's okay, it's Risha. Right, so you want to keep your lines in between the red and the green as much as possible. Not in all the cases, but as much as possible. Sometimes they fall directly on top of each other, and in that case, your lines will just be directly on top of the previous and the next line. We want to keep them in between them as possible. And there you have it. We've already made our sketch layer. Now look at this. Look at this. Now that's the beauty of having the sketch layer, is that you can still make your final corrections. Because now that I think of it, the initial frame looks more childish than the subsequent frames. Now look at this. Look at how much the jaw changed in the process. And that was also partly because I was trying to keep the form in proportion to my rough layers.